Welcome to I'mPossible Conversation, the conversation where ordinary people, everyday people, share their story. So tonight, my guest is Jan King, and when I asked her, describe yourself, she says, Curvy Chick does cardio, self-confessed learner of life, always in hot room, kitchen, or Bikram yoga studio. And she's always on the road between London and Manchester or Bournemouth to see her lovely boys because they're both students. So let's welcome Jan King. Good evening, Jan.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm very, very good. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I was looking this up, and I think it's about 2 years ago. I said, yeah, I'll come on the Impossible Conversation, and it's taken me all that time to get myself together.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been a couple of years now.
I know, time flies.
I know, absolutely. So let's start. I've asked you what your favorite quote is, and you come up with this beautiful, beautiful quote. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Why is it your favorite quote? I know it's so lovely, but what's your why? What's the reason of you loving this?
I think that in life in general, people will you'll see people and you might remember a face, you might remember where you met them, but you don't always remember the conversations, but you do remember how it made you feel. And I just think that it's really true, and it's really powerful. And when I think about when I got married over 30 years ago, I can't necessarily remember all the detail, but I can remember what the food was like, and I can remember how I felt. So, I think it really, really does ring true well, for me anyway, for everyday situations. So, and she's one of my was one of my absolute favorite people. She was incredibly inspirational, and just things that she said that was, they were just bombs, literally bombs of inspiration whenever she spoke. So, I take a lot of inspiration from her.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone loves her.
Indeed, they do.
Yeah. So let's talk about your life journey. Could you tell me where you're born and raised, and what's your journey been like?
Sure. So, I was born in Twickenham in Middlesex, and I pretty much lived in the London borough of Richmond all of my life. I now live in Surrey, which is just 10 minutes down the road, but I pretty much all of my life have, lived in that London borough of Richmond. I was married for around about 22 years. I was with my partner for 30 years. And 5 of those years we spent in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, when my eldest son, Luke, had just been born. So in 1999, when it was the Celtic Tiger, as they said, everything was booming, we had an opportunity to go and live in the Republic of Ireland, which was incredibly daunting for me because it meant that I was leaving the place that had always been home to make my home in a different country. And I felt very alone at that time. I felt I really missed my family. And I remember that I would always go out for walks because it made me feel better. And, just anything that gave me a connection with people. Little did I know that that was kind of like a start of my journey with self-care. And I'd only ever really had one, not even disaster, just one thing that made me stop and think, and that had been in 1996. I lost a child, and I was absolutely devastated. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to act. What I did know is that I wanted to talk about it, and I thought it was really, really important for people to hear my side of the story and what had happened. But there wasn't an opportunity for me to talk about it. So it was actually something that I suppressed for quite a long time. And by suppressing it, that actually affected some of my relationships that I had with people, because I had something that had been traumatic. I had just pushed down and pushed down, and I wasn't in touch with that emotional part of myself. And sometimes I didn't know how to react when people said that they had either lost somebody. In my head I'd be thinking, that's really sad, but you just have to get on with it. And I was a little bit dismissive about it, because that's kind of how I had coped with my loss. And it wasn't until I was about 42 and I did an NLP course, and that really taught me how to deal with my emotions. So, I'm really grateful for the fact that I had that opportunity. And I think in life, you get series of events that lead you on a journey of either self-discovery or not. But, you change. You will always change.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few times about self-care.
Yes, self-care.
And what is self-care to you? And because I know you are self-care coach, aren't you?
I am a self-care coach. So what self-care is taking the time to look after yourself so that you don't suffer with stress and burnout. And I think all roads basically lead to self-care. And there are many, many forms of self-care. You can go large on this stuff, you can go very small, but I think that what we all need to remember is that we all need self-care, and it is really, really important. If you don't take the time to look after yourself, something will happen. Your body will your body is incredible at giving you the signs. So if you are working week in, week out, morning, noon and night, there is only a matter of time before you start to feel the effects, and you get warning signs. And it's whether you choose to listen to those warning signs and say, actually, I need some help, or whether you decide to just keep going because you feel that you have to do it all.
So what forms of self-care is the most useful? Because I know people are like, it's such a busy world. And taking time for ourselves is really, really important. But do we really need to set a time aside, just 2 hours, 3 hours, and go massage, or could it be much more simpler?
I think you have to keep it simple. When you are starting out with self-care, you need to keep it simple. And I always say, find something that you like to do and do it every day. And you don't have to do it for a long time, but it's the consistency and the repetition that will enable you to then develop and put more into a routine. So I started my kind of like self-care by running, and that was something I loved, but I did it to such an extreme that I then ended up with some problems. That led me then to look at how do I solve that problem. And I solved that problem by doing Bikram yoga, which I know you have an interest in. And, you know,
Oh,
essentially,
that's the one very hot one. The hot
exactly,
yoga.
hot yoga.
Yeah.
So Bikram yoga is essentially 26 postures repeated twice in a room that is heated to 40 degrees in 40 degrees humidity. It's an open eye meditation, and it helps you to detoxify, get rid of brain fog, makes you more supple. And in some cases, people have been known to lose weight by doing hot yoga, which I wish I had, but I haven't. But it's a really good form of self-care, any exercises. And I think that when people talk about self-care, they really think about nutrition, say, and exercise, but that there's more to it than that. There are many things. Like, I know we were talking about the fact that self-care, and I'm going to refer to my notes because I jotted down some notes so that I wouldn't go off piece too much with this. We talked about self-care being taking a break from your everyday and doing something that leads you to respect your mind and your body. Because if you're not respecting your mind and your body, who is? And as I said, self-care, it doesn't require huge amounts of time or money. It's not just slapping on a face pack and going, oh yeah, my skin's going to look healthy. It requires some consistency. And I always say to people, schedule it into your day the same way that you would schedule a meeting, because you wouldn't like not put a meeting into your diary. So why would you not put your self-care into your diary? Put some time.
Yeah, so would you say it's a part of your daily routine?
For me, it's a part of my daily routine. And I get up really early because I want to take my time to get ready for my day so I don't feel stressed. And for me, it's as simple as that. For somebody else, just washing their face really well and focusing on, making themselves look good is their self-care. And that's absolutely fine. What I would say is whatever you do it consistently, and, have some passion about it. And there are the different kinds of self-care can be, statements as well that we make to ourselves, because our brains are so clever, and whatever we tell ourselves our subconscious mind is not going to make us be a liar. So we need to tell ourselves good, powerful statements because that's what we're going to believe. If you tell yourself not so good things, your mind believes them. And that's just a fact. So tell yourself the good, powerful stuff, and your mind will believe them.
So what made you to be interested in self-care? Were you like this since you were very little, or did it start recently?
I kind of fell into it, but always, I mean, my whole life, I mean, my family have always said that I was the child that didn't keep anything in. I very much wore my heart on my sleeve. And if I got upset, I would take myself off and I would cry. And that was kind of like my therapy. And I didn't know it at the time, but because I didn't keep anything in and I would just go away. And when I say cry, I don't mean, I mean that proper full blood, oh, I can't cope, my life's a disaster. I would literally have an outpouring of whatever had gone wrong. And then I would, bounce back and say, okay, I'm all good now. What are we doing? And they do say that crying is therapy. And, when you cry, you release your emotions. So I've always been really, really good at that. When Zach went to university a couple of weeks ago, he took great pride in saying to everybody, she cried on the way down here. She's cried along the beach. And she's going to cry when she goes home. And you know what? Yes, I did do that. But I didn't feel terrible. I just felt like I had a release of what was building up inside of me.
Yeah, it's much better than holding it.
Exactly. So,
yeah.
And another thing that I say with self-care is people need to practice the pause. And I don't know if you remember that we talked about this, because I say that if you pause before you are judging, pause before making an assumption, pause before you say something harsh, you could potentially avoid saying the things that you will later regret, that you will then be rerunning those stories in your head. So pausing is a form of self-care because it protects you from stress and overwhelm.
Yeah. So basically, it's people by emotion. They just poop out what they want to say straight away. So it's better to just pause and think and then open your mouth.
Exactly. So, have a good listening ear. And if you are going to say something, a lot of the time we get very emotive about it, and things that trigger us, we literally react to. If you take a step back and use an I statement, you're actually letting people know what emotion it is that you are feeling. And sometimes I feel it is better to convey the emotion because you can set a boundary as well. And you're not just having that knee-jerk reaction. You're actually, conveying to somebody that the behavior is not acceptable to you and what the outcome is that you would ideally like. And it can also be something that opens up conversation. And a lot of people struggle with having those really difficult conversations. And, I always say you need to have them. And sometimes that no that you say, that's an answer. It doesn't need a justification. And there are other times where you have to very carefully construct what it is you want to say so that the person on the end of that, receiving that information can take it in and process it. And careful communication will enable you to do that.
Yeah, because it's very interesting being always self-care. It's not just looking after your skin and then having a massage. There are just so many different ways you can look after yourself and then self-care.
Yeah, ultimately, what you're trying to prevent the stresses of this world impacting on you, so that you then have to take corrective action. Because a lot of the time we wait until we're in a crisis mode before we take action, rather than taking the action beforehand so that we don't end up in the crisis mode.
Yeah. So what would you describe as the most defining moment in your life?
The most defining moment in my life. I think when I finally became a mother, and I was with this child that I had no idea what to do with, and I don't know, I suddenly felt very small, very humble, but incredibly incredible amounts of joy that I couldn't put my feelings into words. I do remember when Luke was about 5 weeks old and the midwife came to see me. She looked at him and she went, "He's got no hair. He had a full head of hair when he was born." And I was like, I know, I stroked it all off, because I stroked his head so much. I stroked all his hair off. Because I just, this little tiny being, I was so in love with him. And I'd waited 3 years to get pregnant and have a baby, so it just added such an immense amount of pleasure and joy to my life. And also, I didn't know it at the time, but life experience. Oh my goodness, those boys were going to teach me so much. And I wasn't prepared for it, but I'm really grateful that I have, children, and that they've been able to teach me things.
Absolutely. So we have our lovely Linda just joined us and says hello, lovelies.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda. It's lovely to have you here. And we just chatting away. Yeah, they're like having a little baby, and it's unbelievable that what human body is capable of, isn't it?
It is. I think I'm always surprised about just how capable we are, and we don't realize it. Even myself. I mean, we were talking about, I was saying to you about, failure is the mother of all success, and I was talking about the fact that Oprah Winfrey was told that she wasn't good enough for TV. Michael Jordan was thrown out of the basketball team. Walt Disney lost a job at a paper because he didn't have any imagination. And, you know, they're all people that have got huge amounts of success. And then we were talking about running and how a year ago I did my first 5K in a park run, which, because I hadn't run for probably about, I don't know, 3-4 years, might even have been more, I was just like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this. And my success has been in lockdown, I've managed to run 3 half marathons. So, and I didn't think I could do that. Yeah, I just didn't think I could do it. So I've really surprised myself. You know, I'm really proud about that achievement. And, you know, that's proof that when we set an intention and we really want to do something, we can do it. And it could be mind over matter, you know, whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. We make our own rules, and then they become our beliefs, and those are the things that hold us back.
Absolutely, yes. And that it's quite admiring. You having like a very bad back, and you've just completed your half marathon recently, haven't you?
Yes. And you know, I'm not going to say that it was easy. I mean, I did get to that point where I thought, oh, God, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I got lost as well. So I'm running, I get lost. I think I can't do it. And when I looked at my Strava, which is just that running app, and I was home. I just about got home. I was close to home, and I had 5 kilometers to go and I've run this half marathon. So I turned around and I ran a route that I knew was 5K and then came back so that I could actually say, yay, I've done my half marathon. Because it wasn't planned. It was just because I got lost that I did the half marathon.
Yeah. That's like amazing achievement, Jan. And then our Linda says, amazing, Jan King. And we've got you a first question from Linda. And she's asking, where do you get your motivation from?
It depends what it is, if I'm really, really honest about it. But I usually look to other people for inspiration and motivation. And I believe that if somebody has done something that I want to do, then it's possible. It's absolutely 100% possible. I tend to look at what I've already done as well. So the fact that previously I had run 10K led me to believe that I know I can run. It was just a matter of how far and when. So a lot of that is testing myself as well. I like to use positive affirmations because I believe that the words that follow I am are some of the most powerful statements that you will ever make. Because, you know, whatever we tell ourselves, our subconscious is believing it. So if we are saying, I am amazing, then your brain's going to tell you you're amazing. I am emotional, or I'm not good enough. That's what your brain's going to tell you. So use the motivational quotes. And, you know, I read a lot of motivational quotes to get me going. And one that I read probably 5 years ago was Muhammad Ali. And he says, don't count the days, make the days count. And I thought, oh my God, yes. So, you know, rather than thinking I've got to do this and I've got to do this, just make every day count and live it the best you can and do the best you can with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you just reminded me a book I read. I can't remember who it was, but what he said was they just given themselves 6 months to live. It was obviously like fictional, and then they lived every day. Because when you have that limit, you have to live your day fullest for
Yes.
6 months, and then when the 6 months approached, they just lived their life full. They haven't done anything they regret, and they lived it full. And the interesting thing is they've reset their life again for another 6 months, and that's maybe the way to live a life in their fullest.
No, I think that's, true, because they always say live each day like it was your last, and we always think, oh no, it'll be okay, I'll do that tomorrow. And every morning that I wake up, I always think, yep, I'm awake, yay, and that for me is really powerful. And recently, my boys lost their grandmother, not my mother, my ex-husband's mother. And the day that she passed, it was an emotional day. It was a sad day. But I remember waking up thinking, I'm tired. I don't want to go to the hospital. There were certain things I didn't want to do. And I did them anyway. And I'm really glad that I did them, because if I hadn't have done them, the talk I would then have been given to myself would have been, what if, should I, could I, would I, all that kind of stuff that is very negative and doesn't make us feel the best versions of ourselves. So I just went ahead and did it anyway. And, it was okay. It really was okay.
Yeah. So it's all about overcoming yourself and your emotions and do things to make things happen. But then there is like another aspect of being in the flow and pushing yourself too hard.
Yes. Well, if you push yourself too hard, you'll burn out. So before you burn out, make time for yourself. Because if you make time to, let's say you get up 10 minutes early and you make yourself a cup of tea and you sit and you have your cup of tea or your coffee, your mind will be quiet and you will actually end up being more productive during your day because of that 10 minutes that you gave to yourself. And I think we need to learn to give ourselves, time. Self-care is taking a break, taking care of your whole self. And, as I said, there's nothing wrong with showing your mind and your body respect. Because if you don't show your mind and body respect, who else is going to do that?
Yeah. We've got that power, don't we? So, would you mind me asking what challenges you come across, like that give you the best lesson ever?
The challenge that gave me the best lesson, probably losing my first son, because what that has taught me is that time allows you to put things into perspective so that you can handle a situation to carry out your everyday life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Because when we're talking about the best teacher in our life, you were telling me that it's not a person for me, it's a time.
It is time. Time teaches you over and over again different things in different ways, and time also allows you to change as well, because like when you're born, you're tiny and you start to walk, then you crawl, then you run, and it's all stages. And if you don't learn a stage, and this is applicable to adults as well, that will just keep coming round and round and round again until you either change the dance or you just keep repeating. And when people say, oh, nothing changes, that's because they're not changing. You have to learn your lessons and keep moving forward. And if you don't, they just come back round again.
Yeah, because that just brings very interesting topic. If nothing changes, nothing changes.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm in the middle of a book of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, that.
And he's. Go on.
Which
fan of
one?
him?
Which one are you going to talk about?
I've just finished the placebo effect.
Right.
So basically, what he was that's completely different than what I was talking about, because he was saying like when we experience the same thing day and day after, it's just we're in this circle of life, and unless we change what we would like to experience tomorrow and day after, it will never change.
No, and we'll just keep going round and round and round, and and you have to learn the lessons, because the example I gave about a baby, you learn to walk, you learn to crawl, you learn to run. You have to go through all those steps and stages. Otherwise, you cannot move forward. You just can't. If you go from walking to running, which is almost impossible for majority of people, you get stuck in between, and that's life.
Yeah. So I remember, because you are part of this Make It Happen community, aren't you?
I am, yes.
Yeah. So what changes have you experienced from joining at the beginning until now? Are you part of that, the morning club? Because I've never been a part of that club, because I think that's very special club. And then people support each other and then do things together and then be accountable for each other's actions, and they keep each other going.
They do, and I have done that. At the moment, I'm not, just because of how I'm working, but I think the morning club is absolutely critical to making changes in your life. And if you want to make changes, get an accountability partner. Accountability is key, because you will always do something for someone else before you do something for yourself. You don't want to look foolish and let other people down, but you will at times give yourselves an easy life and a way out. And I think one of the easiest things that we can do for ourselves is we'll say things like, oh, I'll try. Try is not definitive. It's not a yes or a no. It's a cop out. It doesn't have an action. It doesn't have an emotion. I think it's just a cop out. So I mean, I will work not to say I will try not to do something, because I always feel like I'm giving myself a way out.
You need to be all in. There is no half measure.
There are no half measures. You're absolutely right. And sometimes we kind of like want to dip our toe in to test the water, but that's just a painful way of what you eventually have to experience. Because if the water's cold, you know, you're going to spend so long toe in, toe out, toe in, toe out. Just put your whole, you know, self in, so that you know that it's cold, you get over the shock and you warm up.
Absolutely, yeah. Our Linda says it's a willpower. Willpower. That's the morning.
That's it.
That's a morning club, would you say? Yeah. The group of people.
Absolutely amazing. It is really good because you know, you have non-negotiables. So you know you're doing self-care because you say what time you're going to check in, what you're going to do, how often you're going to do it, and it gets you up, it gets you moving. I know that when I did it, I used to get up I'd get up at 5 o'clock. I would make sure the first thing I'd do was to have some water, because you know when we've been sleeping, our bodies are really, really dehydrated. So the first thing I would do would be to put some hydration into my body. I would then meditate. After I had done my meditation, I would do some affirmations. I'd do the affirmations as I was brushing my teeth. So I'd be looking in the mirror and I'd be getting ready to go on my run, so that by 7 o'clock in the summer, I had done all of those things that I said I was going to do. And I had the whole day then to just get on with what my work. And I really do believe that if you do 8 things before 8 o'clock, you will become more productive.
Wow, that's a lot, Jan.
No. It's not a lot. Let's break this down and get really, really simple about it. So the first thing you're going to do is wake up. Don't lay in bed. And so that's first thing. You've woken up. The second thing, get out of bed and make your bed. Make it look pretty, because if it looks pretty, you're less tempted to get back into it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Have some water. That's okay. So we've already got 3 things, and you're probably like 10-15 minutes into the day. Get ready to do some exercise or move or whatever. While you're getting ready to do that exercise, brush your teeth. 5, say some affirmations. Tell yourself you are going to have an amazing day. Do your exercise. Come back. Get ready for your day. That's your 8 things. Nothing that you don't already do.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
and you see
that's
how
all
simple.
Tick, tick.
Huh?
That's all tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, but do you see how really simple you can make your self-care? So, you know, we can make it as simple or as difficult as we like. Now, I don't like making things difficult, and I just think if you keep this stuff really simple, repetition over time, it becomes like brushing your teeth. And getting up half an hour earlier does not become a stress, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to have a really, really good program or nighttime routine, so that you know you are going to bed at the same time, making sure that you are not susceptible to the blue lights, that you detox from social media, and you know, you just calm yourself. So if you're doing all that the night before, you're going to want to get up early because you are going to sleep better and feel refreshed. You know,
full
and
of energy.
Yeah, I mean, some people say, "Oh, I can't sleep," and I'm actually one of those people. I don't sleep very well anymore, and I think that's one. I used to have a cat that would always, meow at 4 o'clock. So sometimes it feels like I'm waiting for that cat to meow, even though he no longer lives with me. So I'm getting up earlier, and also I'm getting older. I'm menopausal, so I can't sleep, and I just think, oh, I'm awake. I may as well get up. But for me, so that I can, kind of get a good night's sleep, I do have to put things in practice actually during the day. So, I have to make sure that I do exercise, that I get out into nature, and that I get a lot of daylight so that come the evening, I'm naturally tired. I'm not exhausted and have a racing mind from, social media or sitting at my computer all day. I've got the tired from the exercise and being outside and being in nature. And, I get that some people don't get to do that, but a lot of us are now at home and we don't take any breaks. We work straight through. We'll get up and make a coffee. So, when you get up and make that coffee, maybe step outside in your garden and just walk up and down in your garden, because you will get your sunlight. And when you do things like that, it automatically sort of like triggers into the rest of the day. So there is one thing that I wanted to touch on. Have we got time? Touch on essential oils.
Yeah, it's just I was going to ask, Jan, because I have like a few essential oils here. And when I just asked some advice, because you are self-care queen in my eyes, and I said, like, what's this? It's a tea tree. What can I use it for? And then you were just there.
Okay, so as you know, tea tree is antiseptic, and it also can act as a bit of a muscle relaxant. So if you mix a drop of lavender with a drop of tea tree in a carrier oil, and if you've got, say, a small niggling pain in your back, it's not going to get rid of it. It will ease it. The fact that you are actually inhaling the smell will make you feel a bit more relaxed. When you're feeling a bit more relaxed, you're not noticing the pain.
Yeah, that's good, because I've asked you advice about the sleep a few days ago, and you've given me some advice on lavender. Tell our viewers about that, because my husband's sleeping really, really well.
So depending on what it is, and I'm not an expert in this, and there are loads of people that I could put other people in touch with that are absolute experts in oil. But if you rub an oil into your feet, it promotes better sleep than if you put it on your temples. So I use, and I got them out, I use lavender, which is really good for, can you see that? There you go.
Yeah, I can.
Lavender oil. And with oils, essential oils, always make sure that you're putting them into a carrier oil. Do not put them directly onto your skin, because they are very, very intense. And the other one I use is this one. And I can't put, can you see that? Which one am I? There we go.
What is it?
Oh, I'm hopeless at this. There you go. Vetiver. And that one again, in a carrier oil, bottom of your feet, and it's better than the lavender. Don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, that one I don't know why, but there are certain essential oils that promote sleep, and it's the most common one people know: lavender, chamomile,
Yeah.
bergamot. That's really, really good for sleep, and clary sage. They're all things that they act on our senses, and our senses will trigger memories, and usually our senses trigger good memories. So that is something that if you are having trouble remembering as well, rosemary, remember we talked about rosemary, if you put that on your
yeah.
that can
When the children studying, we could just put it their wrist.
Yeah, rosemary is very good. Frank, if you are feeling triggered in any form of fashion by somebody and you put frankincense around you, that's really good for your nervous system, and it just allows you to get a little bit calmer so that you have a better thought process. So, essential oils as well. There are a lot of people that use them in coaching, and they will use them as anchors. And by that, what I mean is that they will apply an essential oil, and then they will also allow you to apply an anchor to that, so that by triggering the anchor, you remember the smell, which allows you to put in practice what you are using the essential oils for. It's really, really clever stuff.
Bringing back all these memories and everything, yeah. We've got Les here, and he wants to know, what about taking vitamin D as a supplement, especially in winter?
If you're going to take a vitamin D product, I would do your research, and rather than taking D2, make sure that it is a D3 and you get the correct potency as well. So you have to do a little bit of investigative work about what it is you need for yourself. But another good way to, boost your immune system is to use juices. So in the morning, I do an apple and ginger shot, and I find that really, really useful as an immune booster. But whatever works for you, and do your research, because I know that I gave my son vitamin D3 because he was growing at such a rate, and all of his body was affected. And also, the doctor told me, and this was something I had no clue about, that many, many people have vitamin D deficiencies that create tiredness and all manner of symptoms. And I was really shocked, because I thought I was quite clued up about things, and that one came as a complete and utter surprise for me.
Yes, that's vitamin D is probably something to do with sunshine and then getting exposed in sun.
But in the winter, we're not getting that, and we can't always get it from food as well. So we need those additional supplements. I'm not one of those people who's adverse to anything. I think that whatever works for you is what you have to go with, and don't exclude anything or don't include something because somebody else is including it. I think you need to, a lot of it's going to be trial and error, but not in a bad way, because it's all good stuff. I saw a little comment pop up there and I missed it.
Yeah, because Karen says so much great advice. Thank you. It's amazing how much self-care can improve your life. Some great new tips here. I will definitely be trying. I'll be rubbing oils into my feet tonight. Yeah, I think.
Amazing. Karen, let us know how you get on, whether it works or whether it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, I've got some other teeny adjustments that you can make so that you'll be able to sleep better.
Yeah, because I remember you mentioned something about rosemary as well.
Yeah, we covered the rosemary. That's for your brain power. It helps students when they're studying.
Mm-hmm. So if anyone got like children who's studying hard and before exam, or probably not before exam, it's like all the time when they're doing school.
All the time. And again, it's the repetition over time that, allows the kind of like brain and body to, it gets into your muscle memory as well. And that's why, we get stressed because our bodies remember so much and they carry so much information, and we need to let them relax and chill and just be really, really calm. When I was younger, I used to think that anyone who got up at 5 a.m. was an absolute nutcase, because that's the time that I was going in after a party. And why would you be getting up in the middle of the night? And, some 50-something years later, the times that I would normally be sort of going in, I'm now getting up, and I'm, and happy to do so, because I can see the benefits for me. For other people, getting up at not so early, but at a consistent time every single morning will make the difference for them. I mean, the one thing that I just don't like to be doing anymore is stressing that I've got to be somewhere to do something. So I would rather take my time to do something and give myself a bit of TLC before I have to be there.
It's been awesome. Yeah. Right. I'd like to ask you a few short questions just to bring out who the John is. So what's the best money you've ever spent?
The best money I've ever spent? Probably when I was a little girl and bought penny chews, because I could just stuff them all in my face and go, and I love them, and they just gave me so much joy. And the fact that to this day, remembering penny chews, I can actually taste them in my mouth. So spending money on penny chews, nothing elaborate or exciting, penny chews.
You see, that's like muscle memory, isn't it? Because you were just talking about like half the coaches use the essential oil for anchoring.
Yeah. I mean, all the things that we have talked about tonight that are self-care, they're also things that you can use in your business. If you want to, if you know that you have got to approach somebody about a difficult topic, then self-care plays its part in achieving those results as well. I believe that you will be very, very successful if you put some very small things in place, and that will lead you to your success. Everybody has everything they need within them to succeed. And I used to think that was rubbish. I was just like, well, I don't, and there was always an excuse, and I'd be constantly seeking approval, asking questions, but I never did what anyone said. I'd always do what I wanted to anyway, and we all do. So I don't. So that is the proof that we have everything we need.
Oh, Jan, Like, it's just so much reminding us. Yeah, ask a lot, but we just do our own things, don't we? And why ask?
Exactly, because all we're trying to do by asking is we're seeking approval for what we already know.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
it's somebody was talking to me, and I know we're kind of like at the end, but somebody was talking to me about intuition and the voice in your head. And I said, intuition is when you literally think to yourself, better pick up an umbrella, it might rain today. But the voice in your head is going, it's sunny outside, you don't need an umbrella. So you don't take the umbrella. And as you get off the bus, out the building, the rain comes down, and you think, why didn't I bring the umbrella? Again, we have it in us. We think these things, we don't always take action, but when we do, it's absolutely amazing. And a quote that I gave to you was that in life, if we do the things that are easy, we make things hard. But if we do the things that are hard, life becomes easy.
Awesome. And then it just this quote came into my mind. Our greatest wealth is our health, but the
Yes,
health we could achieve by self-caring, applying the
absolutely.
self-care regime.
Mm,
Yeah. So
I
thanks
totally
very
believe
much,
that.
Jan. Yeah. So could you tell our viewers where can we find you? Because I know you got your own group and you give advice on so many different subjects and inspire people, help and support others.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to join my Facebook page, it's called Mama Said There'd Be Days Like This. And I know you always, I love when you smile when I say that. Mama Said is all about all things self-care, and there are inspirational quotes in there. There are people who are coaches, as I am. We have some nutritionists. We have some personal trainers. There are people there from all walks of life, all giving, information, and it's a safe space to discuss, talk about, implement self-care and motivate you as well to take some action, to do things. On my personal Facebook page, if you send me a friend request or a question, I'm always open to answering them. And in the next month, as you know, Suki, I shall be doing that self-care course. I'll be doing an online self-care course, which,
It's not a course, it's a masterclass.
It's a course. It's a really basic course. You're going to get a lovely workbook, lots of tips that you can implement immediately, because I'm that sort of girl that unless I can put it into place and it also gives me some benefit, I'm not going to do it. And you've got to do things in a small way consistently so that you can embed the practice. I mean, when I first started yoga, and I'm gonna tell you something that most people go, you didn't. I used to get my yoga mat out for probably 2 weeks, lay it out and think about doing yoga before I actually went to Bikram yoga. And that way I'd set the intention that when I actually went, I was like, yep, I'm a yogi.
Yeah, it's that tiny little actions to make you closer each day counts more than just thinking and doing nothing.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks very much, Jan. You've been awesome. And I really hope that our viewers enjoyed it. And if you loved it, please share, because I would like to, as many people know about Jan and look after themselves and apply all the self-care tips Jan's given us.
Yeah, and if anybody wants, I've got a free meditation for anybody who's on this call or replay. So, reach out to me. I've got some worksheets that you can start to do so you can get yourself on your journey to implementing some self-care. So, and the meditation is done by a friend of mine. It's really, really powerful. I did it and I was like, whoa, this is really good. So he will be featuring in the self-care masterclass, and he's going to do a guided meditation online for us.
So that's great. We could post your group link in a comment section here.
Okay.
As well as
absolutely.
So the people could see a bit more. So our Linda says it's a fab group. Would love the meditation jam, please.
Perfect. So, Linda, I will get that to you. No problem at all.
Right. Okie doke. It's 9 o'clock and thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. It has been my absolute pleasure. The first time I've ever talked about myself. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Jan. Thank you.
I'll
catch up with you a bit later, yeah? Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, thanks so much, everyone who joined us. And next week, we're going to interview Rebecca de Wessington. She's a jewelry maker and on a, what's the company? The Sea Glass company. And I'm really looking forward to it. Please join if you're interested. Thank you, and all have a lovely, lovely week next week. Bye-bye.